Yo, Keith, here we are.
Hey,
Man,
welcome
I missed you.
back.
I
Man,
have missed you, Keith.
I know it's been like a week.
Well, sometimes it feels longer.
Sometimes it does feel longer. And we got some coffee.
We got coffee here. Cheers to that.
Yep. Cheers. So
Coffee time with the layman.
I like it. So we are wrapping up our
Drinking yours
series.
black, Keith? Or you put some sweetener?
No, I put sugar in it.
Sugar in there?
Two packs this time.
You're so sweet. I didn't think you needed it.
Well, it's the bitterness in coffee I don't like. I've tried. You ever try? I know you like it black, but you ever try those creamers and like the flavored, like the Snickers creamer?
Yeah.
Are they good?
My wife loves them.
Oh, okay.
Snickers, the Twix one.
Oh, I bet the
Cinnamon
Twix
Toast Crunch.
Oh,
Rice Krispie treat.
oh, okay.
You know,
Take it or leave
really,
it.
I don't know. They're like starter drugs for kids getting hooked on caffeine, right? Like,
Yeah.
it really is.
Well, it's like Starbucks and all
Yeah.
their frou-frou coffee is really just a way to get people hooked on caffeine.
Yeah, they should crack down on that. But hey, it's a drug of choice, and we're addicted to it. Caffeine.
Caffeine. Gotta love it. So we are wrapping up our series.
are. Yeah.
This is it. This is the last week
What's next, Keith?
of what's next. And so we kind of want to talk a little bit about what I think is something a lot of people don't talk about until there is one, which is a crisis.
Yeah.
Right? We are terrible We are terrible people.
Favorite Mike Tyson quote
Oh,
of all time.
okay.
You all know where I'm going with this one. Everybody's got a plan till they get punched in the face, and that's kind of what a crisis is. You can look at a crisis like getting punched in the face.
Yeah.
Sometimes the plan goes out the window. So
Yeah. And you know, crisis can come in many forms, in many different ways. And so, you know, I also think it can be subtle too, and you not perceive it as a giant crisis, right? But it could be like this subtle thing that's just kind of starting to work its way up to a full blown crisis, right? And you're right now you're like, okay, this is kind of manageable. This isn't a big deal. We'll work through this, right?
yeah, handle
but
this
it's still-
on my own.
Yeah, but it'll still affect you a lot more than what we think, right? So, question. Tell me about a time when I feel like that's just as a side note, when I used to interview people.
Yes.
I used to take the
job
question.
interview.
Yeah, job interview. So I've hired, I don't know, thousands of people in my career. And I would always take the question that we had
on
worked
the
out.
form.
And I hated those questions. So I would, because it'd be like, you'd have a question that's like, tell me, if you saw a coworker, doing something wrong, what would you do?
Oh,
Right?
yeah.
Whatever.
Loaded question.
A loaded question. And then of course you don't actually get the answer. It's like, well, if I saw somebody doing something, I would probably go and talk to them. And then if they didn't, I would go tell a manager, and then blah, 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 right? Like whatever. Like it's just so benign thing.
Yeah.
So I always change it to,
You want a specific example?
tell me about a time when you saw someone, a coworker, doing something wrong, even if it's just, putting the sheet in the copier the wrong side, or whatever, like doing something incorrect, not necessarily like stealing or anything crazy. And then what did you do? What did you do in that situation? Like I want a specific story from your past. Anyway, so I'm taking this question. I'm interviewing you right now. So tell me about a time when you had a non-life threatening,
Okay.
but very humorous injury.
All right, how much time do we have?
We got sands of time. I just want one.
I know.
I want a highly humorous one.
I'm just saying, I have a very, I don't mind being laughed at.
Yeah.
I recognize the humor in most situations.
Okay.
And when I am the butt of the joke, I'm okay with it, especially when it's, non-life threatening, accidental humor.
Gotcha.
I think there could be a whole show of America's Funniest Home Videos that centered on injuries of mine. That if there would have been a camera around in those days.
Back in my day.
There would have been some good stuff. So do we want to include or exclude groin shots from the conversation? Because there's a whole list of horrible incidences that ended up being very humorous.
Yeah.
That came out of there. One time I was here's a baseball story.
Oh, okay.
I love baseball. I coach baseball. Yep. I'm very excitable. My wife thinks it's cute that I take my glove just everywhere. Just in case
there's a spontaneous ball game.
Just in case a ball game breaks out.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
But then like Dustin, our youth director, he's inspired me. He takes 2 ball gloves everywhere.
In case
somebody else
needs
a ball glove.
Yeah.
So now
like
Dustin and I, we've got this pact. I'm left-handed, so he's got a left and a right in his car, and I've got a right and a left in mine. So just in case a ball game.
So you guys could spontaneously break out a ball game.
Yeah, ball game could break out at any time. Anyway, so I'm coaching T-ball one time, and it's T-ball, right?
Yeah.
Like...
It's fun. It's humorous.
Ain't exactly high intense.
Right.
Like
kids running to third.
Athletic endeavors, right?
Yeah.
It may have been machine. Regardless, they're children.
Yeah.
Right. And it's dry and the dirt fields and stuff like that. And I have this tennis shoe progression. I buy shoes for my arch supports.
Oh,
good shoes.
Very. Yeah.
And then I'll replace them in a year, and then the ones I replace them with become like my lawn mowing shoes.
Oh yeah, definitely,
right?
definitely.
And then by the time they're just for short term wear. And then by the time I phase those out, they're like the really gross shoes.
Yeah.
Then I'll like coach in them on like just this dusty field.
Yeah, okay.
So I'm coaching in these shoes. They're just
no tread left,
slick on the bottom.
Yeah,
slick, right? And I'm just getting into it, because the kids are we're starting to turn plays, and we're fielding the ball.
Okay,
and I'm getting, and I'm getting more, I'm
you're just happy they're getting it.
Reverting back to childhood.
Yeah,
I'm just as excited as they are. Anyway, all these parents are sitting around waiting for practice. This is practice, right?
Yeah. Not even a game.
Yeah, I'm the only one out there. Everybody's just tickled pink. There's 14 kids out on this field, and I'm the one out there, and it's not them, right?
Yeah.
Like everyone is having a good time.
Yeah,
and quite the audience there. And ball comes off the bat, and I'm like standing on the pitcher's mat. I think it must have been machine pitch. I was feeding the machine. Anyway, some kid hits the ball. It was probably my kid, right? So I'm gonna get him out.
Sure. Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
I make a break for it. And I roll one ankle, cartwheel, face plant, slide across the infield. It was the most ungraceful thing. It was like a baby giraffe ice skating. It's terrible.
That was great.
And
everybody laughed.
Oh, it was hysterical. So I started keeping cleats around now.
Yeah, you gotta have cleats.
In case I get to.
You gotta have cleats.
I mean, I kind of hurt myself.
Yeah,
you
need something with some traction for a ball field. You don't wear cleats all the time, but for a ball field, you gotta put them cleats on. So. Well, I can think of 2. Do you want a bike story or an ice story?
I want a biking on ice story.
I don't have one of those.
Can you combine them?
No.
Take some literary, what do they call that? Artistic
liberties.
Artistic liberties.
No.
Combine them.
Ice or bike?
You tell your bike story, and then I'll follow. Okay, I'll follow up with mine.
Okay. The last time I rode a bike. Okay.
Okay.
my wife was still my girlfriend.
Okay.
I still lived in an apartment, obviously no kids. And I hadn't ridden a bike since, I don't know, a long time, right? Like in high school, I don't think I rode a bike, right?
Okay.
And so I was like, you know what? My friends were getting into mountain biking and stuff like that. And I was like, well, let's go take a look and see what, because it'd be fun to, and we live down in Georgia and they had tons of trails and stuff, biking trails, I'm like, all right, I'm going to go check it out. So we go check it out, find like a clearance bike that's pretty legit, like $150 or whatever, but it's like a $600 bike or $700 bike, right? I'm like, sweet. Buy Sean a bike too. And behind our apartment was a trail for bikes, right? But then it kind of cut off into like a walking trail. So you kind of had to walk on the trail a little bit to get to the bike trail,
Okay.
Okay. And there's these wood walking bridges. So they're not very big, right? Because it's really just meant for like a couple people to kind of pass each other to get to the real trail. Okay. So we're out on the trail, we're having a good time. It's like 15, 20 minutes, right? We're on the trail and we're like, okay, let's wrap it up. We got to go. So I'm like, well, I'm not going to get off my bike and push it on this thing. I'm an expert now.
You're a bicyclist.
I'm a bicyclist. I'm just going to take this
course.
thing, right? Well, of course, like the tires got all that dust and dirt in it, so it doesn't really have much traction in it anymore. And these bridges are slicker than snot. And I'm going to this thing like full speed, right? And I'm on the first one, and then it kind of turns into the second one. It's not quite a 90-degree angle, but it's probably a good 45 and then 45. And I wipe out. And I don't just wipe out. I wipe out like hanging on the rails, it's because they got handrails. I'm like hanging on the handrails. I tear my knee up,
Did you mangle the bike?
No, bike's fine. Basically what ended up happening is my handlebar kind of nicked the handrail, which then made me like try to overcorrect, and I threw myself off the bike. So bike's perfectly fine, right?
You just got ejected.
I just got ejected from it. Well, I rolled my ankle, so like I can't get back on the bike. I could barely. So Shauna has to get off her bike, take both of our bikes while I hobble back to the apartment, and that is the last time I rode a bike.
I have this theory. That it's not like riding a bike. Okay?
Yeah.
There is a lot. So I think when people say it's like riding a bike, I think what they mean to say is it's like riding a tricycle, because there's a motor skill that comes about when you're 3 years old or whatever, and it's the pedal movement. This leg down, this leg up. It's the pedal.
Okay.
It's the pedal motion, and it's one of those developmental motor skills. So like maybe your parents' teachers person knows exactly when that motor skill kicks in, but it's an important. It's like that.
It's like patting your head and rubbing your belly.
It's like crawling, right?
Sure.
Like at a certain developmental point, the infant needs to start, and it's like left arm, right leg, right?
Yeah.
It's that. Mm-hmm. It's that holistic, gross motor skill movement. Pedaling is one of those, and it's like the last one It's like the last one in the series of gross motor. The pedaling, right?
Okay.
We mustn't confuse pedaling with an ability to ride a bike.
Oh, yeah.
Right? Like, because you just demonstrate when you were a kid, you're probably an ace at a bike.
Oh, yeah.
And when you wrecked that bike, you were a master of pedaling. That's not riding a bike.
Well, I think what they okay, so I'll give you a great example. So here's my inner nerd coming out. So I roller skated a bunch.
I can see that. What was your roller skater? Was it Princess Glitter Sparkles?
No. The owner of the local roller skating rink in my hometown, and my mom knew each other really well. She used to cut his hair, right? So she would cut his hair, and he would just hand her 20 free passes or whatever, right? So then we would go as kids up to the roller skating rink and just skate for free. So So then, over time, I think it was like 12 or 11 or 12. And he's like, "You're pretty tall. You can work here and reach the skates, right?" So I got a job, like under the table because I was too young to actually work for him, right? And just worked from him from like 11 or 12 till maybe freshman year of college. I think finally, eventually, I just worked the entire time at the roller skating rink, and it was great. It was fun.
All the skating you can handle.
I skate backwards, skate sideways, couple skate. There's a specific kind of skate that you can do with a partner where you kind of it's like a figure eight. It's like a figure eight, but you kind of switch positions, or whatever. So you're going forward and then you're going backwards, but you never it's difficult to do, right?
Oh, very.
Okay, so
I can't stand up. I don't put wheels on my feet, let alone strap them on.
So it's like roller
Problem
skating.
with wheels is they roll both directions, forward, backward. It's very dangerous.
Yes, very dangerous. And no real brakes to speak of.
No.
Right? Like the brakes on the front of the roller skates, you don't actually use
No,
very
that'd
often.
be a great way to face plant, right?
Yeah, you actually just turn your skate sideways and kind of gently put down your skate, and it slows you down. The adding that friction to it. Anyways, so didn't skate for the longest time, right? When we were helping our mom clean out the house. Found my pair of roller skates. I'm like, my shoe size hasn't changed. This is amazing.
Adult roller skates.
Okay. And so and these are expensive roller skates, right? I mean, these aren't the cheap ones that you get, right? So I strapped these suckers on. We're in the garage because it's like wintertime or whatever. And the garage floor is like perfect, nice and slick, right? And I put these things on and I stand up and I'm like, nope, I'm going to sit back down now. Because I knew I did not have the same coordination that I did as a teenager, right? Like, it's just, I haven't done that activity in so long that even, because, my feet started going, not in the same, and I was like, nope. And so I looked at, and I think I have video of it. I looked at Shauna and I was like, hey, why don't you try? She's like, okay. So she puts them on. She's like, this is easy. Whoop. Fell. It was great.
All right.
But see, that's when I dodged it because I knew, because I had so much experience with it. I was like, nope, I'm going to fall. Haven't put them on since.
Too confident.
Well,
all right. So we'll get into our talk, but I do want to tell the kind pupil about my my bicycle story because I need to validate the fact that I'm okay being the left, right?
Yeah.
Because this is a situation where no one knows that this happened but me. Right? There's no evidence of this.
Okay.
Right?
All right. So this could be totally made up. And no one would know.
Unless there was a Ring doorbell.
Okay.
So if my neighbor Alan has a Ring doorbell that goes back several years, then this could be some great footage.
Great.
So my wife and I are going to go anniversary trip, and it's in the winter, but we've had these kind of mild patches in the winter. Mm-hmm. Like we're having now.
Yep.
Right? Where
very
it's
nice outside.
It's very nice. And we go on these trips, and we'd take the bicycles along, and we'd go down to Herman, bike-friendly town. There's a Katy Trail and stuff. And, it's the winter, but if you get a 65-degree day in the winter and you're bicycling, it's great.
That's great, yeah.
Anyway, so we're not avid bicyclists. My bicycle I had rescued from a dumpster and fixed up.
Like a lot of your
like a lot of everything
prized
I
possessions.
own, right? Like some of my like rescued from thrift stores. I'm a rescue.
Yeah.
I'm a rescue animal. That's what I am.
I appreciate that.
So anyway, and I think her bike was like literally like the older brother of a high school friend's hand me down.
Yeah.
That she used to ride a 150-mile bike ride with her sister for a thing, right?
Yeah.
And then it became her bike.
Yeah.
Mine, I acquired it from a dumpster and did like a 40-mile Katy Trail. Thought I should have just drove it off into the Missouri River, and I didn't, right?
Lance Armstrong, you're not.
Yes, right. And it's and that was so we had these two bikes that have seen us through incredibly dumb athletic endeavors, right? Like not supposed to be doing this.
Yeah.
We did. Anyway, so they haven't moved in a couple years. They're in their garage. I air them up. I'm going to get them ready to go because the weather's going to be good. I'm going to strap them on. We're going to take them with us, right? So I get my bike out, air it up, ride it up and down the road in front of the house. Everything's,
Yeah, you got to make sure the tires don't pop
like
on you or something.
1:00, middle of the afternoon, work day, nobody's around, up and down the road. All right, that one's okay. Get hers out, riding it, and the back brake's just like dragging. It's making this high pitched squeal noise,
Yeah.
like the whole time, right? So I'm riding, so I got to get it up to some decent speed. Riding along, and I just gently apply pressure to that back brake, and then like grinds, like like smooth,
Whatever is on it,
right?
Yeah.
Sweet. So I did that like 5 or 6 times. Really get that back brake going good. But it was still a little squeal left. So then I ride, and the last time I just mash on it, right? And it just smooths it right over. I kind of tire skidded.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, sweet.
Yeah.
All right, good. Go down to the end of the little stop sign. It's about, it's probably 80 yards of just straight, flat, perfect right in front of the house between mine and my neighbor's. So I go around, turn around, come back, and now I'm like testing the front brake. And it's squealing too. Well, my mashing on it thing worked out great moments ago. So now I get this baby up to cruising speed about 50 yards in, and you see where this is going.
Front brake.
What sort of idiot grown man gets? It was like a death wish. Like,
Yeah.
I intentionally got this thing up to cruising speed and mash on the front brake. It whips me over the handlebars and just lays me out across the road there. Tires spinning in the background. I can only imagine the scene, right?
Were you okay?
I was fine.
You got a little road rash on your face.
I had some children. I was wearing my helmet. Thank goodness.
Yeah, you always have to wear.
Well,
a helmet.
I felt really
for that reason.
Because I felt really silly out there in my helmet to begin with. But I'm like, I'm a responsible adult. I need to wear my helmet.
Yeah. What if a kid saw you?
Slingshotted myself across the road.
Helmet and all.
It was exactly as your brain would imagine it.
Yeah. Good thing you didn't have those shoes that like click in.
Oh my goodness.
Because you would have been like, but the bike would have followed you and landed on you.
It's very similar to a skiing story I have, but we're not getting into that today.
We're not going to get into that today.
We can talk about why I haven't skied in 15 years.
But I will say this.
But yeah.
So these are obviously great stories of not a true crisis, but when things go awry, right? And how we react to it and and what we do, right? So really, what we kind of want to think about is, in the times of real crisis, what do you do?
Yeah, we got way off track.
We did. Spiritually, we look at Matthew 11:28 and 29, right? Which says, "Come unto me, all of you who are weary and burdened, I will give you rest. Take my yoke upon you and learn from me, for I am gentle and humble in heart, and you will find rest for your souls." And I think what's interesting about this is when we're in moments of crisis, I feel like the natural thing to do is to try to reach out to God, to pray, to ask God for some kind of intervention, whether it's emotionally or whatever, right? What's interesting is what Jesus says is that, "Come to me, all you are weary and burdened, and I will fix your problems." No,
not what he says.
Not what he says. I will give you rest,
Comfort, peace, the ability to endure.
Yeah,
a place of refuge to possibly endure from.
Yeah. And I think that that moment of rest, helps us give clarity in the situation, because when you're in a true crisis and you have heightened emotions, it's hard to have a clear mind to work through that crisis on our own, right? And so you really need to have that clear, rested frame of mind to then approach the crisis. And so I think that for me is a big verse, because your first reaction as a human being is to try to fix it,
or cover it up,
or whatever,
but
right?
yeah, that falls under fixing it, right?
Fix it. Oh, this thing happened. I gotta fix it. I gotta make it right, or whatever. And that's just our natural tendency and our natural reaction.
Yeah, or we hide from it, right? And I think with your spirituality too, it's like, it's like your creation story, like Adam and Eve, like hide. Oh man, cover up, hide, cover up.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's a bad instinct when considering Jesus is like, no, bring it to me. Come, yeah, I'll help you, quote unquote, fix it.
Yeah,
I'll help you get through it. I'll help you put it in perspective. And I think in Galatians, Paul writes, carry each other's burdens, and in this way you will fulfill the law of Christ. So I think that's really good second layer to this. Us as Christians living into our Christianity is to, Jesus says, bring those burdens and stuff to him and he'll give you rest. Likewise, our call as being Christians is to help shoulder the burdens of others in the name of Christ.
Well, yeah, I mean, if you take 29, take my yoke upon you and learn from me.
Yep.
Right? And as you learn from Christ, what did he boil all the commandments into two, right? Yep. Love God with all your heart, and love thy neighbor as thyself, right? And so if in a moment of crisis you don't not shoulder those burdens, right? Like you are emotionally invested into it so much, so should you be with your neighbors, right? It's the same. Yeah. It's the same concept,
which is so hard because I think a lot of times we're like, man, well, just wish they knew Jesus.
Yeah.
It's like, no, they need to know Jesus through you.
Yeah. Or, sometimes when I'm talking to my literal neighbors, right? There's something that's going on, I'll listen to them and then, if they go to a different church, I'll be like, why don't you talk to somebody at your church about it? Right? Because it's like, I don't want to be in their business, right? But they're already talking to you about it, right? So they want you, they want that connection with you, but like I feel like I shouldn't be involved, not because I don't like them or anything like that, but it's just kind of like, oh man, that's really personal. Maybe you should talk to someone else about it, right? And I found myself doing that and reflecting upon it and going, that was the complete wrong approach, right? In some ways.
But I think maybe I like making excuses for you.
Thank you.
No, I think part of that. I don't think excuse is the right word, but like accommodations, like. I don't think there's any. So I'm a firm believer in finding community and relationship within your local church.
Yeah, sure.
Right, and there's lots of local churches around here. And if somebody's found and associated with and participates in the community of a local church,
well, I think that's the problem.
Then. I don't.
No, I mean, I'm saying I think that's the problem is when
I think that's some of our Methodism where it's like, that's cool, man. You got a church, great.
Yeah,
participate in it.
Yeah,
we don't want to be like, hey, leave your church and come to ours, right? Like,
right. Yeah,
we want, and I think that's important to me is I think the valuableness of Christian community is found in participating in it.
Yeah, no, and that's
not in associating with it or identifying with
Right.
it, or it's participating in it. And I
going to a church is different than participating in a church.
Correct.
Right? And
Very much so.
And I think that's maybe, if there was a moment of crisis in my life and I wanted to talk through it, I've got a host of people here in our church that would be like, other than, my parents or my brother or whatever, right?
But yeah.
But there's a host of people in my community that I would call probably a lot sooner than I would my neighbor.
Yeah.
Right?
Mm-hmm. Because they are your neighbors.
Well,
right?
I have really great relationships, and
I do too.
I have great relationships with my neighbors. Our families do stuff together and all that. We talk at least once a week with most of my neighbors, right? But I wouldn't lean on them in terms of a moment of crisis, right? I would lean on my existing church community that I've participated with and made those connections and some really deep bonds that we have. And so maybe that's, to me, if somebody's talking to me about something that's going on, I'm that person. I'm their deep connection, right? Mm-hmm. Because they don't have that other person per se that they can lean on, right? And so I need to be a little more perceptive of that, like, recognizing, one, or they're just the kind of person that tells their life story to everybody that walks by. And if they're not, and they're telling me about something, it's because I'm that person for them, right? So anyway.
No, and I think, if I could, like, in our spiritual journeys, whenever we have these burdens and we bring up, like, I think the first step is to in your prayer life, speak it out loud to the Lord, right? Mm-hmm. Privately speak it out loud to the Lord, and that gets it out of your head. And something about us saying stuff out loud, even in private, gets it out of our head and kind of like makes it real within the world, right? Mm-hmm. But then I think the next step with that is not being physically, humanly alone with that.
Yeah.
And that's where having connection and having surrounding yourself with others who believe in the same grace that is extended to you by Jesus. When there's others in your church community that you're connected with that share those same beliefs, I think it's much easier to take that next step of sharing that burden, and then they will shoulder it with you as part of their responsibility.
Yeah. That's it. Look at that.
Are we out of time?
We're out of time. Time flies when you're having fun.
It does. Well, let's keep the conversation going offline, and you guys, you do the same.
We'll see you next week.
All right.